Jeff Jensen. I'm with Entertainment Weekly, and I am very excited to welcome you to Science Channel's presentation of the Firefly 10th Anniversary Panel. I had a very long and florid intro that argues the importance of Firefly, but I think you know it. And we're running a little late, so let's get on with the thrilling heroics. I'd like to introduce the creators and cast, beginning with writer Jose Molina. Executive producer Tim Minear. This actor wanted to be introduced as bounty hunter and sandwich maker. You know him better as a leaf on the wind. Or something. One word, river, summer love. A good doctor, a better brother, Sean Marr. This is the audience participation portion of the show. The hero of Canton, the man they call... Last but not least, the creator of Buffy, Angel, Firefly, the director of the third biggest movie of all time, Joss Whedon. All right, we got stuff to do, so sit down. No, not you. That's it. I'm good. I got this one. We have time for questions. I know you have a lot to ask. I know you have a lot to say. There are microphones positioned. You guys know the drill. You've been to Comic-Con. Joss Whedon. Congratulations on a great summer so far for you. It's been 10 years since the beginning of Firefly. 10 years of this sort of amazing story of a show that has survived cancellation to become the phenomenon that it is. What does it mean to you to be here today on the 10th anniversary of Firefly?
Means I'm running on fumes, let's face it. I haven't come up with anything new, so I'm just hoping people will still watch this. What else could it possibly mean, except that we always knew from the very beginning that everything we were doing for the right reasons, in the right way, with the right people, that we were making something that was more than the sum of its parts, that we had the best cast I'll ever work with. We also had Alan, it goes beyond Vindication. Vindication came a long time ago. It goes to a place of transcendence that I can't even describe without turning into a girly man. More of a girly man than I already am.
Nathan, I just love to ask you the same question. I mean, just, you're in Castle right now, but... But Mal Reynolds, what does he mean to you, and what does it mean to be here today?
Oh. If I can get through this without crying, it'll look a lot cooler. Firefly was a lot first for me. No one would give me a chance to be anything other than the number 5 guy, the lead girl's ex, the other dude who doesn't come in until later and then he leaves pretty early. He's good, but we don't know if he can carry a show. That's what I got all the time. No one would give me a chance. How am I gonna show anybody what I can do if no one will let me do it? And Joss Whedon was the guy. Gave me the best character I've ever played, the best words I've ever come out.
Joss, 10 years ago when you created Firefly, what was on your mind? What kind of science fiction show did you want to create? How did it begin?
At this point, I think it's so much in the vernacular that it seems old-fashioned, but I just wanted to make something that felt real, like a piece of history. I wanted to buck the system of all science fiction is lit with purple lights and has big green heads, and I wanted to tell an American immigrant story. I wanted to tell a Western story, but I need spaceships or I get cranky.
And Tim Minear, you've worked with Joss for years. I'd love to know, what were your thoughts when he said, "Hey, I want to, make a science fiction Western"? Did you think that would be a hit show?
Oh, I never think anything Joss is going to do on TV is going to be a hit show. It is fair. What I will say is that it was never in the plan for me to work on this show. I was working on Angel television. And my best friend came down to a set at Paramount and let me play with his spaceship. And it was about the coolest thing. The other spaceship. And here's my cargo bay. Look, I was a geeky kid growing up. I went to cons, and that's what I did. And Joss Whedon, the coolest guy in Geekland, said, "Come be on my spaceship," and it means as much to me now as it did then, which is kind of a lot.
Yeah, I have to, give the dark underbelly of that story as well, which involves betraying David Greenwald, which is always funny. And because I promised him I would never take Tim Minear off of Angel. And a very good friend and a very wise woman, Marty Noxon, sat me down and said, "Joss, you need Tim on Firefly, or you will never leave that set, and the other shows will die." She was like, "The only thing that can make Firefly work when you're not around is Tim Minear, and you know it, and you have to put him on that show, and you have to do the hard thing. And she was so right. It's the best move I ever made.
Thank you.
Jose, I'd love to ask a question of Jose. Like, what was it like to tell stories in this world? Because you could tell science fiction stories, you could tell Western stories, you could tell a little bit of both. Like, what was it like for you as a writer?
It was kind of like being a pig in shit, honestly. A pig in fecal matter. I had been an assistant on Buffy and Angel. I was Howard Gordon's assistant, so I always felt kind of like the kid on the outside looking in, going, "Please let me play with the pretty toys." And then Firefly came along after I'd gotten my first gig, and I didn't even have to interview it because I knew Joss and I knew Tim, and so I was invited into the sandbox. And then, you know, it's just like, how hard do you geek out, and how hard do you sort of push your own tendencies, which mine were a little more traditional Star Trek-y, sort of old-fashioned sci-fi. And our homework before we started work was to watch a lot of Westerns. So I tried to be as much of what I thought the guys wanted me to be, and pitch along what the whole staff was pitching and try to make it Westerny. And then ultimately what I wound up writing was the one with the spaceships and the core planet and all the pretty things and the laser guns and the but it was literally a dream come true writing on the show, and completely heartbreaking when it went.
I have to say, because it was Ariel, where you were coming in and just coming up with this amazing heist plot stuff. And any writer will say, and then there's a cool heist, and everyone's like, yes! How do you do that? And you know, and my whole thing is, hey, what if they're sad? Hey, what if it's about his father? You know, I can, but the actual, like, coming up with structure, and then that structure has meaning, like the stuff you did on that, I was like, oh, thank God we have someone who can do this. And then later on I'll add more sad. Maybe I'll kiss somebody.
Sean, you figured prominently in the episode of Ariel. You're like the Danny Ocean of Imperial Hospital heists. I'd love to know, science fiction, Western, fusion of Western culture and Chinese cultures. This sounds kind of really weird. Love to know, kind of like dropping into the middle of this world at the very beginning. I mean, was it difficult? Was it challenging? And did you take to it easy?
Was it weird or awesome?
Or was it not?
It was awesome. I think that's what I loved about it. My first introduction to the world of Firefly actually came out of Joss's mouth. I don't even know if you remember. When we were first meeting the first actors, and we just had all I had was that Simon's speech in the pilot to go on, and so I had a lot of questions. So I had said to Joss, the first thing I said was, "Hey, please tell me about this world." So I got to hear it all come from this man's mouth, which was pretty extraordinary. I never once thought of it as science fiction. I don't know who coined the phrase a post-apocalyptic Western, but that's always how I spoke about the show, post-apocalyptic Western. Ariel to me is actually one of my favorite episodes for many reasons. I mean, just working with these guys was extraordinary. The writing was extraordinary. I loved the way it looked. I love that Simon, sort of stepped up to the plate, and I think Tim had told me how Ocean's 11 it was after we shot that initial scene, which I got the night before. Thank you. But yeah, I don't even know what your question was. I'm still in a little bit of blur because you guys are so crazy.
Nathan, I have a question for you, which is that it's very obvious watching the show, whether you're a fan at the beginning or have discovered it on Science or DVD, that this cast really enjoyed working together, unless you were faking it really well. But the chemistry of the cast was really the key to the success of the show. What was it like creating that bond, among the cast while making the episodes?
Me? I'm glad you asked me. I can't help but think I should have been paying more attention to the question.
Can I answer? Alan, go. What Nathan means to say is, right in the beginning of when we first started shooting the series, Nathan came up to all the actors and he goes, "All right, we're learning everybody's names. It's a contest. His name's Jim. His name's Alan. His name's Tom. His name's Brian. All right, I'm winning." And then took off. And so it became a game of learning everybody's name. And a lot of times actors and crew, they get separated, it just happens. You kind of go into your little camps. And that brought everybody together because we were walking around going, "Hi, Brian, hi, Jim, and Tim, and it brought us together as a family a lot. I think that was the biggest thing.
Cool.
It's
important when
and the
names of the staff.
Yeah. Adam.
Yeah.
Abby. All right, moving on. Adam, I have a question for you, but we have a clip to set it up first, so let's roll the clip with it.